First of all, when you think of yourself as an investor, the first question to ask is who made the initial contact for that lead? Is it you who made the initial contact, or is it lead who made the initial contact? And I'll go into some examples. And the other question to look into is, with your marketing, are you targeting a specific property, or is it more general marketing that you're doing to attract motivated sellers? So those are the two questions you want to think about. Welcome to our REsimpli Mastermind call. My name is Sharad. I'm the owner and founder of REsimpli. And just a little background about myself. I live in California, but I do my investing in Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago. So if you're not familiar, it's practically a suburb of Chicago, but happens to be in Indiana. I used to live in downtown Chicago. So that's why I picked that market. I do fix and flip now, primarily, I would say about 50-60% are turnkey, and then the remaining are retail flip. So that's kind of what our business mix is. Depending on the interest rate on the market, it kind of fluctuates if we're doing more turnkey properties or more fix and flip retail. I also own a property management company. I started out buying rental properties for myself. So I own about 50 rental units, and I created my own property management company. We managed a little about 200 units between my units and other investors that we manage properties for. So if you have any questions on that, more than happy to answer. And just a little kind of background on what my team structure is. So I live in California. We do about a couple of dozen flips per year. My project manager lives an hour north of me, so she manages everything virtually. And my lead manager, I'm in the process of looking for a new lead manager. She had been with me for about 6 years. She was living in Philippines, moved to Canada for higher studies, and then now she's getting to the point where her school's getting pretty busy. So we're in the process of looking for a new lead manager. So, but it's all very virtual, very remote. We don't have anyone local in Indiana. We manage everything remote. So I figured the topic for today is difference between inbound and outbound marketing, especially as the market is changing. I'm sure you guys have noticed with the SMS getting a little bit more regulated. So I thought this would be a perfect topic to talk about kind of the difference between inbound and outbound marketing, and which one to pick for your business as SMS and some other marketing channels are getting a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go a little fancy on you guys. Today I put together something on my iPad. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So for me, the way I think of inbound and outbound marketing, first of all, when you think of yourself as an investor, the first question to ask is who made the initial contact for that lead? Is it you who made the initial contact, or is it lead who made the initial contact? And I'll go into some examples. And the other question to look into is, with your marketing, are you targeting a specific property, or is it more general marketing that you're doing to attract motivated sellers? So those are the two questions you want to think about. And then here, I'll go into like outbound marketing is where you as an investor is reaching out to the seller. So you're making the initial, so if you go back to this, who made the initial contact? In this case, for the outbound marketing, it's you as the investor who's making the initial contact. So think of cold calling, direct mail, SMS. Those would be your most widely used as outbound marketing. And then if you look at targeting specific property, the answer for outbound marketing would be yes. When you're sending direct mail, you're sending direct mail for a specific property. When you're cold calling someone, you're cold calling for a specific property. You might be calling, hundreds of different people in a day. You might be sending 100 of SMS, or you might be mailing a list of thousands of people. But when you think about it, they're all targeting a specific property, and you are the one who's making the initial contact with the seller. So those are the two things you want to look into is who is making the initial contact, and are you targeting a specific property? And if you look at this, in this case, you as an investor is reaching out to the seller. So you're making the first contact with the seller. When you look at inbound marketing, so inbound marketing would be your paper lead, PPC, radio ads, TV ads would be some of the examples. So in that case, if I go back to this, you're not the one making the initial contact with the seller. You just have a general ad, and the sellers are the ones that are making the initial contact with you, right? And then when you're doing your TV ads, radio ads, PPC SEO, it's not targeting a specific property or specific seller. It's more broad marketing that you're reaching out and hoping that your ideal seller will reach out to you. So that would be your difference between your inbound and outbound marketing. So in inbound marketing, you have the seller making the first contact. So if you have a radio ad running, the seller listens to the radio ad. It's not targeting that seller. It's just saying, hey, we're interested in buying houses. If you are looking to sell your house quick for cash, call us, email, text, whatever. And then the seller is the one who makes the initial contact with you as the primary contact. And then you were not targeting a specific property. So those are the two things you want to keep in mind. And then these are some most widely used marketing channels, and I've divided them into outbound versus inbound. So your outbound would be direct mail, cold calling, PPC. Again, with these three, you're the one making the initial contact, targeting a specific property. All right. Inbound would be your PPC, your Google ads, your SEO, pay per lead, TV ads, or radio ads. Again, you're not targeting a specific owner. You just have a mass broad ad going on, and then the seller is making a first contact. And with your marketing, you're not reaching out, you're not targeting a specific property or specific sellers. So those are the things you want to keep in mind. And I have a quick summary of some of the most widely used marketing channels. Can you guys see my Google Sheet now? All right, so these are the lead sources, the ones that we have in REsimpli. And then I kind of divided them, put a marketing time, whether they're inbound or outbound, right? There's some that can be both. For example, Craigslist can be both inbound and outbound, meaning if you go to Craigslist and you see an ad from a landlord renting, talking about his rental property, you reach out to that landlord asking if he would be interested in selling. That would be an outbound marketing because you're reaching out to a specific seller, you're making the initial contact. Now, Craigslist can also be an inbound. If you go to Craigslist, put an ad, hey, I'm looking to buy houses, fixer-upper houses. If you want quick cash, again, it's just similar to radio ad, TV ads, but you're just putting it on Craigslist. And then in that case, the seller would be reaching out to you, making the first contact. So it could be both inbound and outbound. Same thing with other wholesalers. If you're buying properties from other wholesalers, you go to your wholesaler in your area who has a website where you listed property, you call and text them about a specific property. That could be outbound marketing, versus if the wholesaler is reaching out to you because of the presence you have in the marketing, then that's inbound lead for you. Same thing with the real estate agents and referrals that you have. Everything else being equal, generally speaking, your inbound marketing would have higher quality leads versus outbound marketing. Because when you think about it, if seller is the one unprompted making an initial contact with you, understood that they saw your ad, but you were not targeting them specifically. But if they saw your ad, or if they went to Google, for example, and they search, sell my house fast, they saw your ad and they made the contact with you, generally speaking, those leads would be more motivated than the ones that than the ones that you have from outbound marketing, like direct mail, cold calling, or SMS, everything else being equal. So like your TV ads, radio ads will generally produce higher quality leads, more motivated leads, versus the one that comes from your inbound marketing channels, like your bandit sign, billboard. In my market, I remember bandit signs are not allowed in our market, so we can't do that. But I've tried billboards in my market. We signed a 6 month agreement. It's been like 4 or 5 years. We hardly got like 4 or 5 calls, but just some inbound marketing will be more effective than the other. Billboard in our market wasn't very effective. And I talked to another investor that was doing pretty good using billboard, and he mentioned that you have to go into a concentrated area and have like 8 to 10 billboards just so that people see it all the time. But those are some of the things to look into. You see, Brian, if you want to have some marketing idea not on the list, please go ahead and if you want to share, definitely, the more ideas we can have from the group, the better.
Absolutely. So this was a marketing idea that was taught to me about 10 years ago, and I kind of gave it a little bit of a twist. And it's a powerful way to market. What I do is I actually make a little note that I Xerox it through Staples. I put it on yellow canary paper. We actually will make 1,500 of these notes, and we will actually stuff 1,500 of these little yellow notes, handwritten, Xerox and copied into envelopes. And at the end of the day, we'll have 1,500 envelopes ready to go. I go on Craigslist. I get three other people, and we'll do a subdivision or two subdivisions, which we know, are definitely changing, where there's killer opportunities to buy low and sell high. We did one here in North Charleston, and we just got a deal. We're buying for 188. We're going to put 40,000 into it. We're going to put it on the market for 350.
Oh,
It's about 2 hours of grunt work, but it's about $300 all in, and your phone will ring when they see those notes. They a handwritten note. They call that number. Now, not every one of them are happy to see that note, but 1,500 notes, and there should be about over $100,000 of profit being made on that deal. So
so if I
it's
understand correctly, you have one handwritten note on a yellow, you on a
1,500,
yellow.
1,500. We Xerox copied
No, but then you write the
1,500.
initial one and then you Xerox copy 1,500. And then what about
Exactly.
the address? Are they addressed to a specific person,
No,
or this is like generic?
no, it's generic. It all it says is, "Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, I missed you. I was hoping to make an offer on your home."
Okay.
Just something, I even put a silly name on it just to kind of keep my name off it.
Okay.
And then
And then
and
you'll
then
just put them in a handwritten
we
envelope and just
we're
mail them
100,
out.
1,500 envelopes, and then we go to the neighborhood, and we'll tape that note in that envelope on
Oh,
every
wow.
house,
Okay.
every door, every mailbox, the whole neighborhood.
Okay.
And
So
they
you're
they
going
and they
neighborhood by
find
neighborhood, very
mhm,
manual process, but you're putting it on each door or like
on the
based
on
on
the
like some.
door, the mailbox, the fence. They'll come home, they'll come out of the house, they'll see that envelope hanging there, and they'll grab it.
That's a
And
great
they see,
idea.
yeah, and it's powerful. The
Right.
phone will ring. And then the beautiful part is what I've kind of see is once you have all those phone numbers, you could text those numbers and say, hey, by the way, I know you're not selling your house, but if you know somebody who is interested, I'll pay you $1,000 referral fee at closing. So now you're talking to the whole subdivision.
Are you
Uh,
going based on like some distress points or
uh,
just every house?
well, every house.
Every house.
Dare I say it? I hate to say it. I compare it to carpet bombing in World War II. You waste the whole area,
Okay.
and yeah, it works. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
all I
it's
know.
that's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, I would fall within like door knocking sort of. You're not like actually knocking the door, but you're just going door by door and then just
Taping that
putting it.
note.
You're not even knocking. Yeah, so they see the note. That's a great idea. I've heard
Well,
some people use like door hangers when they go door to door, but I think
no,
having a handwritten note would go much
exactly.
farther. Yeah,
The door hangers, they know it's some sort of commercial entity. They're hesitant, but they see a
right.
handwritten note,
That's a
the
great
phone's
idea.
ringing.
And then do you have someone that you've hired in your company to do this? Or like who
Uh,
is actually doing this?
so I have a partner that I work with, and then again I'll go on Craigslist, and I'll say, hey, I need a flyer hander outer, and I'll pay you $60. And I just actually put in a Craigslist ad 20 minutes ago. We're going to do it on Thursday,
That's
and
fantastic.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
basically you keep an eye on your flyer hander outer, and at the end of the day they get $60 cash, and again you just and your phone. We got a deal. The deal we're working on. The crazy part was is we put the note on the door. We had the deal before we left the neighborhood.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Adam has a question on that. How long have you used this strategy and how many deals have you got from this channel?
So I've been doing it now. It's actually funny. It's funny you asked that. So I've been in business about 10 years. I started doing it about 7 years ago. Actually, where I really kind of made my business years ago was in mobile homes. So I did it at mobile home parks. I mean, I haven't tracked it. I mean, how much revenue have I generated from it? You know, I would say over the years, I mean, from the deals I did, I would say I probably did at least, you know, $100,000 of revenue. But again, that was from mobile homes. You know, the numbers are much smaller. But
Right.
the beautiful part is people are people, houses are houses. I mean, they'll come outside, they'll see that note, and I promise you, you know,
They
if
will
you
open
do,
it.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
do, if they're open, and when they see the handwritten note, you know, if you more than likely, you know, you squiggle on it, you make it look as authentic as possible. I usually put a smiley face and stuff at the end.
Are you
Uh,
putting their name on the envelope or is it a blank
no,
envelope?
no, it's just a blank envelope. I mean, if you
That's
want,
a
you
great
could even.
idea. Yeah.
I mean, if you want, you can even have a little fun with it. Sometimes I put money signs on the envelope, whatever.
Yeah.
But the theory is when you know when they get the envelope, they think that some local guy was there. He knocked on the door. They didn't answer the phone or they answer the door, so you left a note.
No, it's a
And
great idea. Thank you for sharing.
yeah,
And are you using like white color envelope or just a different color?
so that's a good question. Boy, sure, you're hitting me good. I like that. Actually, I'll give you guys my. I should do a course on this. You can go to Walmart and in the envelope section, there's a cheap there for it's 100 pack of envelopes. Usually they're like $2, 2.25. So I'll buy, you know, you'll see me walking out Walmart with 6, 7, 8 packs of those $2 packs for 100, and that's all I'm doing is the little $2 pack, two and a quarter, and I'm just, you know, I have a buddy, you know, he just stuffs those envelopes, so he'll have a stack, you know, yay high, and that's it. You know, basically, you got to get them on those doors. It's a pain in the butt. You know, sometimes you feel a little funny doing it, but when the phone rings and you got a deal, you know, you're the king of the world.
No, it's a great idea. I'm actually gonna have I'm gonna have my project manager have one of our contractors start doing this. Anytime we're doing a flip in the area, just like walk around the block, just put it on like 100 houses. Such a simple
Every
thing.
door.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
every
well,
door.
if I could, I mean, where the action is, you know, again, this is just my thoughts from what I'm kind of seeing. Is if you're going to do a drop and you really do want to get results, again, I think at least, you know, I think 1,000 is
Yeah.
is is where you want to do it. And again, you know, the pain in the butt, the pain in the butt is kind of getting your manpower from Craigslist, which usually everybody, you know, there's lots of people off Craigslist willing to make a quick $60 for the day.
How are you
And
tracking that if they actually put it or not?
usually it's me and my partner, and I'll take somebody out, and then my partner will go out with somebody. So
Okay, so you're
I'm
doing it
watching
in your
them.
local area.
Exactly. Well,
Okay.
I mean, you got to have, obviously, you got to trust your people, but I'm watching them. They're, you know, my partner's watching their people.
No,
So
it's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
well, it works. So that's my thoughts, and it's cheap.
Yeah, especially in this market, anything you can do to like kind of just stand out, and then just make it more personalized. Yeah, there's nothing like that. Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm here to help. If I have any more questions on that, I'd love to. You
Yeah,
know,
thank you for sharing that, man. That was actually a great
absolutely.
tip. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to my project manager and get some of our contractors involved. It's the same handwritten note. You don't even have to just you write it once and then just get it printed on a yellow sheet
Well,
of paper. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, go down to Staples, and then what they do is I have them copied into fours. So one paper they'll make four notes.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a full site. It can be like a small site just to like kind of stand out or something. You can
Well,
you can
well,
play around with the envelopes or something
well,
also.
well correct. So they take that full size sheet and they make it into four notes, and they cut it into
Yeah.
four notes, and then it's exactly right. You take those four notes, you know, again, obviously multiplied into 1,500,
Yeah.
and start stuffing.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I always get amazed by the creativity of some of the investors, what they're doing to just like get the next deal. And the
Uh,
ROI in that is fantastic. Like you spend
well,
like a couple of hundred,
three,
two, 300
three,
bucks on
three,
it.
three, three
Yeah,
hundred bucks will get you about
yeah,
1,500 notes and delivery.
absolutely. That's
And
perfect, man.
and
Yeah, you don't have to put any stamp on it or anything.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just get your and the name of the game is you want to tape it. That's another trick I learned is you don't just
Yeah.
drop them. You know, everybody goes out with a roll of masking tape, and you mask
That's
it, tape it
perfect.
on the fences, on the doors. That way, it's up in the air. You know, it's safe. You know, it's not rolling around the wind. It's taped.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, man. Thanks for sharing that. Great tip.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Yeah, guys, if you have any other creative things you guys are doing in your business, please feel free to share so we can all, get some value from that. Right. Cool. All right. So based on this inbound and outbound marketing channel, I put together some kind of idea of what the cost would be. Bandit signs are, of course, very cheap. You just get bandit signs, if they're allowed in your area. In our area, it's not allowed. For like last 5 to 7 years, the city doesn't allow that. But you can put them on any flip that you're doing or any property that you have, you can put them in the yard, or you can put them on the telephone post or wherever. So super low cost. Billboards are, of course, going to be high. Like I shared, a few minutes ago. If you're going to do billboard, just don't get one billboard. You want to be in an area, concentrated area, and have like 8 to 10 billboards. And you can negotiate. When I got a billboard, I wasn't paying much. I was paying like 12 to 1,500 bucks a month for a billboard, but they had special deals going on. If you got multiple, then they would give you better pricing. So if that's something you're looking into, I can definitely connect with you and give you some feedback on that. Uh, your cold calling and Craigslist would be low cost for cold calling. Only thing you need is like you pull a list, skip trace, and then just a dialer. So super inexpensive. Craigslist is practically free. You're not paying anything. You're just going there, finding the list of properties, owners that have listed their rental properties, or you're putting your own ad there just to get in touch with, just to have someone start calling you about any properties they have. Direct mail would be medium cost depending on, how big your list is. If you're doing postcard or handwritten letters, Brian shared a great tip. I guess it would fall under direct mail slash door knocking, but something to try. One thing I would recommend is if that's something you're going to do, we're going to do in our business, but get a separate tracking number in REsimpli so you can track specific how many letters you put out, how many calls you got, and then you can start tracking your expense and revenue for each marketing channel so you can see if it makes sense to start scaling it. Cool. Right. Your driving for dollar would be, again, low cost. All you're doing is just paying for the software. If you're using REsimpli, it's already included in every account. So I would highly recommend, at least at a minimum, you use driving for dollars when you're driving around the neighborhood. Just, start adding those leads into your database. Email marketing. It's actually, we have some investors within simply using email marketing for lead gen. So they would skip trace, get the email addresses of the owners, and then email them. And it's effective for them. Super low cost. Like once you skip trace them, you have their phone number, and then you also have their email. The super low cost, and then you can just email them, and they've had some success with that. Facebook marketing would be inbound. I put medium cost based on my experience. I tried Facebook marketing, and there's some investors who've had success with Facebook marketing, but for the most part, I've heard it as not being super effective. The reason being, there's not many people going to Facebook looking to sell their houses, right? When you compare Facebook ads to Google ads, you have people going to Google and typing in the search engine, hey, how do I sell my house fast? You don't have people going to Facebook typing the same thing. So the quality of leads is going to be a little bit lower. You'll get more leads. Your cost per lead would be lower with Facebook, but then your cost per deal would be higher just because you're getting a whole bunch of leads, but they're not very high quality leads. So you have your display ad on Facebook that you're showing people. It's good if you put pixel on your website. Somebody comes to your website and you kind of, track them, follow them through your Facebook ad. That's where it can be effective. They see your ads multiple times. They see you on Google. They see you on Facebook. That's where it can be effective. But just as like a cold ad, I've not heard many people have good success with that. Foreclosure auction is low cost, basically free. I used to buy a lot of properties at foreclosure auction back in the day, like 2012 through 15. There's no cost. I mean, you know the starting bid of the property, and then you just go there, bid on the property, and then you're bidding against other people. We had pretty decent success with it, made pretty good money, but then as you know, started getting more competitive, there weren't as many foreclosures, so we kind of put it on the back burner. But we might be looking at that again in the future as the foreclosure rate starts going up. Google AdWords and PPC, super effective marketing channel. If you're not doing that, I highly recommend that you look into it. The quality of leads would definitely be higher because you have people that specifically went on Google and typed in certain keywords that you're targeting for: sell my house fast, how do I sell my house fast, how do I sell my house fast for cash. So you can only target specific keywords, so it can be very, very effective. The cost is going to be high. Your cost per lead is going to be depending on, including the management cost and your ad cost. It can be anywhere from 100 to 150 bucks or more, but the quality of leads would definitely be much higher. I've heard from investors consistently doing deals, and then their profit per deal also tends to be higher because the quality of lead is higher. Your SEO leads are going to be inbound leads, but cost would be low. But keep in mind, this is very, very long-term game. Don't expect to start, putting all your eggs in SEO and not doing anything else. SEO should be something that you're building towards in the long term. So in 6 months to a year, where you can start to expect to start seeing some leads come in. But at the same time, don't just rely on SEO. It's great once you're ranking high on Google, then these are practically free leads coming into your system. But it takes time and effort to get to the number 1 or number 2 ranking on Google. But it's a very long-term game, 6 to 12 months at a minimum that you want to give yourself. Your MLS leads are free leads. We bought properties from MLS. Last year, we bought a package of 6 properties, and combined, we made about 400 to 450,000 on those 6 properties. They're free leads for us. We ended up just buying all 6 of them from a seller. So definitely look into it. If you're doing fix and flip, there could be some really good deals you can find on MLS. Online auctions like auction.com, I think it's called something else now, but Hubzu and a couple of other websites. Again, when the foreclosure rate was high, there were some pretty decent deals you could buy from online auction website. There aren't as many, good properties that you see on online auction, but something to keep in mind, depending on the area that you're in. If the foreclosure rate is going up, then you'll start seeing a little bit more activity on those online auction websites too. That's something to keep in mind. Other wholesalers, we bought properties from other wholesalers, especially if we're doing fix and flip. Or another great strategy with other wholesalers is if you have other wholesalers that have actually found the property and you have a big buyers list, then you could co-wholesale the property with them and make a little bit of money. So keep that in mind, just partnering up with other wholesalers if you're doing fix and flip in your area, or if you want to co-wholesale, work with your, leverage your buyers list with a wholesaler who has a property under contract. That's another great way to make money on those deals. Then your pay per lead, again, a lot of investors are using it. This would be a need to sell my house fast, fast home offers. There's Compass Data. There's a couple of other websites where you can just sign up. The great thing about this is you don't need any long-term commitment. You could literally use it for a month and shut it off. And then if you have a bunch of leads that you're working on, you can shut it off and then come back a month or 2 later and then turn it back on. Your average cost per lead would be, I would say, like $200 to $450 to $500, depending on the area. If you're on the East Coast or West Coast, expensive cities, it's going to be on the higher side, like $400-500. If you're on the, less competitive market, it's going to be about, $150 to $200. The area that where we invest in, our average cost per lead is about $300 to $350. There's some things you can do with pay per lead to, if you're bidding on these properties in the beginning of the month, generally you put a budget of, investors are going in and putting a budget of $3,000 to $5,000 that they want to spend towards that. And those are like first come, first serve. So investors that are doing that, they'll get the higher, the more quantity of leads initially. But if you go in and then you beef up your budget towards the second half of the month, then you could just play around and get a little bit lower cost per lead. So if you want to try that in your market, it's worth looking into. Um, your radio ads, they're going to be expensive, but very, very effective. I've heard from a lot of investors that are using REsimpli have really good success using radio ads, high quality inbound leads. You just want to make sure once you dial that in, work with someone who has done radio ads in the past. You work with someone so they can help you dial in what's the best radio stations to be on, what's the best time, what should your ad copy look like, the call to action and all that good stuff. And it can be really effective marketing channel. Real estate agents and referrals, those are going to be low cost to free cost. You're not paying anything for those, but could be really good quality leads, especially if you can get from real estate agents some pocket listing before they go on the market, if you have opportunity to make offers on those. Referrals are always fantastic because it generally tends to be less competition on those. If someone has referred you over to a seller, then you in most of the cases, you're the only one that's negotiating with the seller, so you can have some leverage in negotiations. Ringless voicemail, cost is low, but I would say it's not super effective. Again, it's getting more regulated between ringless voicemail and SMS, so the cost is going to be low. And I believe that's like the main reason investors generally tend to start out with ringless voicemails or SMS, especially, but it's getting more and more competitive. I'm sure all of you guys have noticed that with A2P and DLC requirements, it's not as easy. You cannot just pull a list, skip trace, and start texting them right away. You have to go through a process which takes, week to 2 weeks to get approved, and then you have a reputation score, you have a trust score that you're keeping with the carrier. With T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, you want to make sure you're, being mindful of that and not just blindly texting to get a lead, because it could have long-term negative consequences towards your business. TV ads can be super, super effective, but of course they're going to be very expensive. We're looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on the market, to get those leads. But fantastic for brand building and very high quality leads. Again, these would be your inbound marketing coming in, but they can be very effective. But again, keep in mind, very expensive expensive marketing channel that you have. Website is a mix of, depending on how it could be PPC, SEO, or just mix of a couple of different marketing channel towards your website that you're doing. And then YouTube is another one I've heard more and more investors using. YouTube ads, targeting people that are going to YouTube and typing, how do I fix my, furnace? How do I fix my hot water heater? Generally, things that people would type in if they don't have the funds to hire a plumber, hire an HVAC guy. So something to look into. I've heard investors have really good success, the ones that are doing with YouTube ads. So if you're not looking into that, if something you've considered, I would suggest kind of playing around with it and see what sort of results you can get with YouTube ad. So again, this is a very high level overview of your inbound and outbound marketing. Again, with inbound marketing and outbound marketing, thing to keep in mind is who made the initial contact, and if you're targeting a specific property. If you're targeting a specific property and then you are the one making the initial contact, then that's outbound marketing. And inbound would be where you have a general ad running and then the seller is the one making the initial contact with you. And in your marketing, you were not targeting a specific seller or specific property. So, all right, let me look at the questions. Kevin has a question. Do you guys observe your wholesale fee go out in your market? I was told by wholesale in my market that they're getting 50K wholesale fee. What's a good PPL try that you have good? Kevin, yeah, I've heard from other investors also that the quantity of deals has gone up, but more importantly, the quality of deals that they're doing, meaning their profit per deal has gone up. I know some investors where their profit per deal or wholesale fee per deal has gone up by 50%. Even like we have a flip that we're putting on the market. Actually, we were going to put it on the market last week, but even before we put it on the market, we were going to put it on the market for 215 and we got an offer for 235 even before we put it on the market. So we making, hopefully it appraises for 235, but even before we put it on the market, we're assuming it appraises for 235, we're making extra $20,000 on it. We were going to make about 50 or 55, but now we're going to make about 70 to 75. So I know for us, our profit per deal has definitely gone up, but we're doing flips. We're not wholesaling our properties. So I would be curious to hear from anyone else on the call if their wholesale deals have wholesale margin have gone up. I've heard from other investors that are consistently doing deals that their margins have gone up. They're making more per deal now than they were making some time ago, just because there's a little bit less competition, as going back to the marketing, as SMS is getting a little bit more challenging. That's what a lot of newbie investors come in and start doing as it's getting more challenging. So you have a little bit less newbies coming into the market, and that makes it more favorable for more experienced investors. They're not competing with newbie investors. But yeah, based on kind of what I've seen in my business, what I've heard from other investors, their wholesale fee has gone up. Kevin, I'm gonna put this. We had John. He does a lot of PPC. So he was on our mastermind call a couple of weeks ago. So I'm gonna put this in the chat. He mentioned during the call, I think about 30 or 40 minutes in, this is the call, how to maximize sales with inbound leads with John. So you should definitely watch. About 30 to 40 minutes in, he and a couple of other investors mentioned some paper lead marketing channels that are working really well. Need to sell my house fast. If you haven't tried that, I would give that a shot. Fast home offers, I've tried personally. I've talked to other investors who've tried. It's not as good as need to sell my house fast. Then you have motivated leads that I've heard is really good. It's a little bit more pricey, but then it's better quality leads from what I've heard. And then you have Compass Data is another one. There's a couple of more. If you go back to the recording where someone mentioned, yeah, property leads, need to sell my house fast, and property leads. Thank you, MW. Yeah. And radio ads. Kevin, if you send me a message, or if you send me an email, I'll make an introduction with someone. I'm going to put my email address. I'll make an introduction about radio ads who can help you negotiate with the radio stations and help you set up, with all the radio ads. So it might be something to look into. Again, I mentioned in the call, everything else being equal, your quality of leads with inbound leads, like your radio ads, PPC, are going to be better quality than your outbound, like direct mail, or especially cold calling in compared to cold calling in SMS. So Dan has a question. Any specific company to use for inbound PPC? I recently used one that sent me too many rural leads. Yeah, I'll share the one that I'm using. Let me find them really quick. Yeah, if in the meantime, any of you guys have any referrals on PPC, please put that in the chat. But I'm going to share this page in the chat. Wholesaling PPC is who I use. Again, none of these companies we have a referral or affiliate engagement, so you use them. We don't make anything on it. Wholesaling PPC is who I use in my business, and I've had really good success with them. This is their website. You can definitely feel free to use it right here. And I've had really good success working with wholesaling PPC. Yeah, so I would definitely check them out. Cool. All right. Steve has a question. If you had a budget of $3,000 a month, what would you recommend for channels? Steve, are you doing any marketing right now, or are you just starting out with your marketing? And how big is the area that you're trying to target?
Yeah, I have been doing marketing. I've been in business about 3 years. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been doing radio for 3 years. I'm on 3 or 4 stations. It was really good for a while. And I would say the last year it has tapered off. So I'm evaluating. I'm going through this exact process. Where do I shift some dollars? I've been in that 3 to 4K a month. Most of that going to radio. I've done some postcards, although for me, just time consuming and feels like it's expensive. I've done text blast. That's been okay. I've done some search engine optimization. And so I'm kind of, pushing the reset button going, okay, I'm better at inbound marketing. And so I'm aware of that. So I'm leaning in that direction.
And what market are you in, Steve?
I'm in the New Hampshire market, north of Boston. So
Okay.
smaller market, tier 2 market, secondary market, you know, a lot of competition, not a lot of inventory. Prices have gone through the roof, probably like a lot of places around the country.
Right.
Um, and I'm just looking to reassess, you know, if I've got 3K a month, where do I allocate it? You know,
One thing I would say, based on the data that we've looked at for other real estate investors using REsimpli, is especially the investors that are doing consistent deals, is they have some part of their budget is going towards direct mail. It may or may not be their primary marketing channel, but they're doing some direct mail in their mix. Now, not all of them may be doing cold calling, not all of them may be doing SMS, PPC, but at least what we notice, vast majority of them, if not all of them, are doing some direct mail. Some might be using it as their primary marketing channel. Some might be using it to a specific niche list that they have. So I would definitely keep some budget allocated towards direct mail. You might have a specific list, a target list that you may want to go after, like a very stacked list based on, you know, different multiple pain points like probate, pre-foreclosure, whatever that might be. But I would keep some money, maybe like, you know, 20 to 30% allocated towards your direct mail. So that would be your outbound. If you haven't tried PPC, I would give that a shot just to try out PPC. If you have a VA on your team, you know, who's a little bit tech savvy, they don't need to be like super tech savvy, but just someone who's a little bit tech savvy, we've actually put together a course where you can run your own PPC. I used to do it on my own, but then it just got a little bit busy. It's not super, super complicated, but you need someone who's a little bit tech savvy and who has that, you know, inclination to kind of, you know, figure things out. And then you can just take that course, give that course to your VA, and they can do that. Yeah, I mean, then if you're doing radio or TV, that would take, you know, big chunk of that 3 to 4,000 out of your budget. So mixing between direct mail and then PPC, your SEO, and you know, your other marketing channel would be like more SEO would definitely be long term. Adam, did you have anything to add to that?
I just got one quick question about direct mail, because I do need to bring on another channel and we're leaning between PPC and direct mail. And I actually had a consultation with the guy, Dan, that you had on here a couple of weeks ago with Ballpoint. And one of his reps basically was saying, yeah, man, we recommend a 6-month drip with the same data being hit month to month. And I crunched the numbers and I was like 20K basically. And he said 1% follow through rate, right? So out of 3,000 deals, I guess 30 deals would come. Can you speak to what KPIs you're seeing and how you're specifically with the direct mail, how what does your strategy look like? Are you super focused on the data? For example, like only doing probate, only doing foreclosure? It just didn't make a ton of sense what that guy was saying. And
Sure. Yeah, I'll share, but let me just address. I thought you had something to add to Adam, but yeah, just give me a couple of minutes. Yeah. So yeah, Steve, I would definitely look into direct mail as like maybe allocate 20, 30%. And then, you know, just look at the list that you're targeting. And then if you're not doing Google AdWords PPC, I would at least give it a shot. You know, the cool thing with Google AdWords PPC is like you don't need, you know, like a 6 months commitment to it. You could just try it out for a month or two and see the quality of leads, and then you can just get more and more targeted with that. And then is your exit wholesale?
it's primarily flip. We primarily flip our properties, although I do wholesale 1 or 2 a year, but I usually flip them.
Okay, so similar. So then I would start looking into like MLS and other wholesalers. You know, we picked up properties from MLS, and that's something we're actively looking to buy properties from MLS. So I would definitely look at MLS and also buying from other wholesalers, especially if you're flipping. And then again, look into like paper lead, need to sell my house fast, or you know, the link that I put in, you know, copy and put it again. There's some really good paper lead that John mentioned in the call. So need to sell my house fast is okay. It's better than the other. Fast home offers, based on my experience and talking to other investors, is not the most effective. Again, the great thing with PPC, fast home offers, or any of these need to sell my house fast, or these paper leases, you can try it for a month or two and just really assess the quality of the leads. And then,
Mm.
this is not like direct mail or cold calling where you're like, okay, I'm going to just go in 6 months, commit to 6 months, because, each month it's building on top of the previous one. So it's not like that. These are like inbound marketing. So very specific to that lead. You can shut it off, turn it back on. So that's what I would try. And if you're having success with some SEO, you're doing some brand building and stuff, you could test out like YouTube ads. And then anybody that's coming to your website through SEO, put pixel on Facebook pixel on your website, and then, track them, follow them on Facebook and other marketing channels. That's very low cost, but it can be effective because, we're talking about if, your ROI on those tracking campaigns, retargeting campaigns would be very, very high, because you're going to be making about 30, 40, 50,000 on each flip. So that's something I would try.
Yeah, that's great. And did you say for the you said there's a course on the REI website?
Yeah, if you
Uh,
reach out to us, send an email to support@REsimpli.com, and they can give you more details on the course. Again, if you have someone on your team who's a little bit, tech savvy, and then like curious about kind of figuring it out, it's like step-by-step instructions on like everything you need to do to run your own PPC. It goes very, very detailed, but you need someone who's a little bit tech savvy. Just then they'll like do the whole PPC campaign justice. But I believe with wholesaling PPC, it's like 500 to $700 a month. I forgot, but might be something worth looking into.
all right, those are great options. Thank you for talking that through with me. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, Steve. Yeah. Hey, Adam. So yeah, I'm trying. I have Ballpoint Marketing doing my direct mail for me. So to answer a question about data and mail piece, if I had to pick one, I would say data is definitely more important than mail piece, because think about it. If you have a data of, if you pull a list of people that all bought their properties, oh, sorry, before I get, hey, Steve, if you were not on the call, in the like first 15, 20 minutes, Brian shared some really good tips on some marketing channels. If you're local in the area, definitely look into that. I think that's some really inexpensive, but could be super effective marketing channel. So go back to like the first 15, 20 minutes of the call. That's we're going to be trying in our business, but something to look into. Very, very inexpensive, but can be very effective. Okay.
Yeah, the yellow the notes in the
Yeah,
envelope.
exactly.
Yep, I
Yeah.
heard that. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So I
Thank
think
you.
that's a great tip. Yeah. So I'll definitely look into that. So yeah, Adam. So I have Ballpoint Marketing doing my marketing. But if I have to, your data has to be on point with direct mail, because if you go after the list of people that, let's say, all bought their properties in last 6 months, then you can have the best handwritten note, you can have the best letter, best stationery, but there's no way they're going to sell their property, right? I bought my property in 6 months ago. I mean, unless you're willing to pay me ridiculous amount of money, I'm not going to sell my property, because as an investor, the numbers would not make sense. So you want to start with the right data, right list of in homeowners to go after, sellers to go after. If you're not sure, then the absentee list generally tends to perform better. And if you have too many people on the absentee, stack that with vacant. So absentee vacant would be good. But I would say test out, like maybe pick a small list of absentee, and then pick a small list of absentee stacked with vacant, and see how it performs. And then just look at your numbers. I cannot stress enough, it's really, really critical that you're tracking your numbers. The point is, I've said this in other calls, your goal should not be, one of your goals should be that you want to increase your top revenue number. If you're doing, let's say, 5, 6, 700, then your goal should be, okay, how do I get to $1 million in revenue? How do I increase 50 to 100% to my revenue? However, you don't want to increase that revenue at the expense of net income. It's super important to keep track of your net income also. I would much rather have 700 to $800,000 revenue business, but make 400 to 450,000 net profit versus $1 million worth of business and I'm only making 200 to 250 because I have a very inefficient business. And that's where, for most investors, as you scale your business, marketing would be the biggest expense that you have on your in your business. Maybe your marketing or payroll, but generally tends to be marketing. If you can be more effective with your marketing, at a minimum, you want to look at, for every dollar that you're putting in, you want to look at absolutely bare minimum 3x. So if you're spending, so going back to like Steve had an example of, if he's putting 3,000 per month, at a minimum, I would say I expect to make 10,000, like 9 to 10,000 on that. But ideally, you want to be 5x and above. And the only way to do that is you start tracking your number. If you're doing direct mail, you're doing direct mail to absentee list and probate list. Don't combine the list. Use two separate tracking number and see if it's the absentee list or probate list that's actually performing well for you, right? And that's where you start getting more and more effective with your marketing. Then you just double down on the marketing that's working and start cutting out the one that is not working. The only way to do that is really track your marketing better than anybody else. The better you can track your marketing, the more money you'll make in this business in the long term. So Adam, I would say start out with the right list. Yeah, so I'm using PowerPoint marketing. They're going after expired listing. I forgot all the lists that they're going after. But, for me, it came out to, I think about I gave them a set budget. I think it's about $8,000 to $10,000 over 6 months is what I'm spending, if I'm not mistaken. Or I'll have to go back. They send me the invoice. My mail just dropped
And then
last
how many
week.
pieces of mail is that sending out for you if you're spending 10K over six? Because my number was like 18K over 6 months. And they were
I
suggesting
mean, I'm in a very small area. Like I'm literally in like 4 or 5 cities in a very small county that I'm at. So my goal is to do, like about couple of dozen deals a year, but really high margin deals, like where I'm making minimum 40 to $50,000 a deal. So that's kind of what I go after. So it's not quantity for me, it's like quality. If you send me a message, Adam, then I can like look through the invoice and give you the exact numbers of uh, how many mail pieces and what's my cost per mail drop that they're doing.
thanks.
Sure. All right. AMW. I was spending about 70 to 20,000 a month with home investors. We buy ugly houses, buying one house a month on average. That's $1,500 a lead cost. I'm now on my own spending 5 to 10. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've heard from home investors or these franchises. Then it can get super expensive because again, the inefficiencies creep in and then you don't have control on how you're doing your business. But independently, I would say that's pretty on par with about spending 5 to 7,000. Depending on the market, it may go up to 10,000, and then you're getting about 3 to 4 houses. So I would say about 2 to 3, $4,000 per deal is kind of a good ballpark number to keep in mind. Again, if you're in San Diego, New York, or expensive market, that number is going to be high, but your ROI is going to be high also. So keep that in mind. Not so much on cost per deal or cost per lead, it's the ROI. If I'm living in San Diego doing deals, I'm not going to get a deal for $2,000 a month or $2,000 per deal. I might spend 8 to 10,000, but I'm making a lot more money also. So at the end of the day, the most important number you want to keep in mind is ROI. For every dollar that you put in marketing, how much money is coming back into the business? So for every marketing channel, I mentioned absolutely bare minimum, it should be 3. Anything less than 3, you should definitely cut it out. Ideally, you want to see 5 or above. So Steve, going back to you, if you're spending $3,000 minimum, you want to see, $10,000, but ideally you want to see $15,000 or more that you're making from the marketing. It should be higher, but at a minimum, I would say, like if you're making less than 15, then I would start looking at, where some inefficiencies creeping in. There's some marketing that you're doing in your business that you don't really need to be doing. And then I will start tracking my numbers a little bit more in depth and start analyzing and see where is some inefficiencies in your marketing. fast home offers, you have to pay upfront in your monthly budget. The other PPL, you can just pay per lead and shut off. Yes, exactly. Need to sell my house fast. You basically set a budget and you will pay per lead. So in my market, I would pay $300 per lead as it comes in. But after, thank you, Phil. Great seeing you. Yeah, so $300 per lead, but I can just shut off. Let's say I get 3 leads, really good lead. I can just shut it off after that. I've only spent $900. I'm not spending anymore. So that's very, very easy way to manage your budget in marketing. So if you're not doing that, I definitely look into some PPC. Again, you could just test it out for, honestly, like a month or so, a couple of months, and see how it goes, and then just go from there. Steve has a question on where do you get the best layers? I would say like PropStream, all these data providers, they're getting their data from the same source. So you want to make sure you're applying the right filters. But if you're using PropStream, that's good. The important thing is, Steve, the more variables you can add to the list. So for example, if you pull a list of absentee owners, right? Now, if you can subdivide the list into absentee that are vacant, that are not vacant, absentee that have just one property, or that have more than, or you can do like 2 to 4 properties or more than 4 properties. Now you start, instead of mailing to one absentee list, you're mailing to 4 different subgroups of your absentee. You're mailing to absentee that have 2 to 4 properties, absentee that have 4 or more properties, absentee that are vacant, absentee, general absentee. And then you can start tracking your numbers, your data on, okay, which subgroup within my absentee is actually really, really performing well, and then double down on it, and then cut out everything else. And that's how your ROI goes up. If you just combine everything into one big list, that's where you lose an opportunity to look at the data. And the more efficient and more effective you can be with your marketing, the bigger advantage you'll have over anybody else in your market, because you know exactly the marketing that's working for you, and the ones that's not working, the ones that are not working, you can make you can make decisions with much more confidence than anybody else in your market. Like we tried fast home offers. We spent $10,000 and we just decided it was not working, but we could go back and say, okay, we're making our decision to shut down fast home offers because we spent 10,000. This is exactly how many leads we got, how many appointments, offers. So we were able to track everything and make decisions with confidence that it's not working and we need to move on to something else that's working for us. Bill has a question. How specifically are you marketing to probate? Do you mail to the Bill, I'm not marketing to probate. I just gave that as an example. I use ballpoint marketing for my market. They pull the list, they do everything. So I'm not doing any probate. But if I were, I would go down to the county, and that's the source of all the data, and that's where I would start from. Just get the data from the county and see how you can kind of use that data and get in front of those people before anybody else does. MW has a question. I have 2 domains locked down. Does it benefit me to launch 2 websites? I have done that in the past and I've made money from it. I don't do that anymore because it's just like more admin work and it just takes a little bit of more time. But if you have that, basically, so if I go in my, I'll give you an example. All right, so I'm going to use this as an example. All right, so like, for example, let's say these are paid ads, right? All right, so these are sponsored ads. So let's just say this is what I've done in the past. It's a little bit more advanced strategy. You could try it in your market. It takes a little bit more time managing, but not too much more. But let's say if I had 2 separate domains in the same market, but I set them up as totally 2 different brands, so they look and feel different, then I would have 2 different brands, run my ads on both of them. The great thing of that is when someone is filling up your website for PPC leads, they're not generally filling out one website. They're generally filling out multiple websites. And if you can show up on both the ads, or 2 or more ads, then what would happen is the seller would go to website number 1 and website number 2 and fill out the form. For the seller, they're filling out 2 different forms, but they're filling out forms for both of your websites. So for seller, it seems like they reached out to multiple people, but both the leads are coming into your system. It can be really effective if done correctly, but you want to make sure your branding and everything is totally different. So that's where you would see the benefit. That's we used to do that. At one point, I had like 3 different websites, but again, it just got a little bit too much work for me to handle. So we decided, you know, we're just going to do one. But I know other investors that are using 2 different websites in their business and having some good success with that. So yeah, I mean, there's no harm to trying. You know, just make sure they're like 2 totally different websites, not related to each other. Because you know, if you're not taking the same content, just copying and pasting in the 2 websites, then you could get penalized by Google. But if you're trying to do it for PPC purposes, I think it could be effective. And one other tip I would say is very, very, very important, especially with inbound leads. It's with any leads, but more important for inbound leads, because you're spending a lot of money in generating those leads, is speed to lead. If you are not the first one to get in touch with these leads, just, you know, you're going to more likely than not, you're going to lose that deal. So if you're, make sure we have some features built within REsimpli that, especially with your online leads coming in, your paper lead, PPC leads, SEO, Google, all that good stuff. So as soon as the seller completes filling the form on your website, it immediately calls someone on your team. You pick up the phone and it starts calling the lead. So within less than 30 to 60 seconds from the time the seller submitted the form, you could have the seller on the phone. That's where you start converting more of your leads. So the part 1 of the business is how do you get more leads? But the part 2, more important, is how do you start converting these leads into deals now? So make sure you're doing that. Inbound leads, speed to lead is very, very, very crucial in the business. So you make sure you're always kind of getting in touch with these leads. You have some systems and processes built in to get in touch with these leads as quickly as possible. So that's the end of our call. I want to ask you guys for a huge favor. I'm going to put this link in the chat, and I've made it super simple. If you guys got any value out of this call, I put this link in the chat. You can just click it right here. It'll open right to our, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. It'll just take literally 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds. If you can take, you know, click on that link, it'll take you to this. If you get any value, if you could give us a 5-star review, it helps our backend team, our support team just kind of get super excited, especially our backend team, our developers, to see everything that they're doing, how it's adding value to our end users, investors like yourself. So it makes them super excited and motivated. So if you can take a few seconds, just click on that link, and then it'll take you directly to submitting a review. Cool. All right, guys, that's it for our call this week. I hope you got value out of it. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you guys on the next week call. Thank you so much. Thanks.